everybody, Thy Lord Root here. I am actually with Thy Lady Root,
Why, hello there.
and today we're going to look at City Skylines. In fact, I've been playing this on my Twitch stream for a couple of weeks now, but I thought I would do a quick tutorial because I got Thy Lady Root this game for her birthday. And although I'm playing with the expansion pack, this tutorial should at least deal with the base game pretty well. In fact, why don't we just do some things real quick to deal with that? We can possibly turn off the day-night cycle, just for now, because you won't have, well, in the base game, I guess now you will, but day-night cycle is complicated, so we'll turn that off. I went to the options to do that. Let's talk about the best place to put your city real quick. As your city grows, you will want connections to all different kinds of transportation methods, and there are four. You, of course, have highway connections, and you also sometimes have rail connections. If you're connected to a body of water, like an ocean, you might have a ship connection. And then, very likely, you will have plane connections. For your first map, make sure that you have all four. Some of them do not ship with everything. So for instance, this is a map that I've downloaded off of Steam, and it has no train connections. Other things you might notice about this map as well is that we are missing some natural resources, and it's mostly water, which means that we do not have much in the way of land. So these are things to look into. Definitely that limits some things, but we can pick a pretty good place, depending on whether or not we want a large amount of area or a large amount of water. Make sure that your map does at least have some water, because as you'll find out, you'll need it. So we have Grand River here with a fairly high amount of land, but no oil. So we might want to avoid that. This has 74%, which may be okay. We have River Rhine, which has slightly more. And Black Woods. I'm going to go with River Rhine largely because of the fact that it has such plentiful resources. And we do have water. And the name tends to imply rivers, which is going to be very helpful for us. So, let's go ahead. You can set your name up here. I'm going to, just to show that you can, I'm going to call this Testville. And then, if you like left-handed traffic, you can hit this, what's deceivingly not a radio button, but a checkbox. And we can move forward. So the game will generate everything that it needs to. It'll bring up tooltips. And hopefully it will not take too terribly long to do this. This is sometimes a deceptively short process. First thing you want to do now is, I'm just going to close this guy here, is press space. Because you don't want to be building while the clock is ticking, and space pauses the game. You could also hit this guy down here. It's not really a problem if you don't have anything down, but if you do happen to have things that are available like this, then it can be a minor problem. And we want to avoid that because what'll happen is that you will have to start paying taxes, and we're going to be doing a little bit of busy work. Now, this is a pretty good thing to do here, just because of the fact that there is water close by, and that means we don't have to route things very far away. There are a couple of approaches here, but first what we'll do is we'll go through and we'll just create a small road and then click on the bulldozer and delete it. And that unlocks the very first tier of the deal here. You'll see that you'll have a bunch of tutorial things that pop up during the game. It's a little annoying, but we can handle it. Now, I've actually made something that's good for this. It's this guy here, but let's not worry about that. That is something that you would have to probably work on yourself or download from the workshop. And that is not terribly good. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to click on this road guy here, and you'll see that I've clicked on this 2-lane one-way road. At the very least, we want a way for these guys to come off the highway and into town. So, we'll do that. I think... And this is the part that... Oh, we're a little bit off. One way you can make this nice and even is you can come down like this. And with the roads... The road's going the wrong way, but if we hit the upgrade road tool and right-click on it, then it'll put it in the right direction. Anyway, this is going to loop into this, and this will eventually create traffic problems. But that'll be okay for now. Now, we have plenty of options for roads starting out, and those options include something kind of like the following. We have the 6-lane road and the 4-lane road. And some intersections if we've unlocked everything we need to do them. Those are custom things, so we'll avoid them for now. The thing, of course, about the roads is that we really want to do this in such a way that we do not create traffic problems. And this is likely to do so. So I'm going to make a small extension down here where people can turn in. Maybe something like that. That'll be a 2-way road. And we now have this place where we can put down our roads. You want to basically think about which roads are going to be high traffic roads, and you don't have to do much expansion on them as such. But it would be good if perhaps when we did this, that we made it with some expansion in mind. So I'm just going to go like this. We don't really have to get too much further down. And the reason we are putting the high traffic roads here is that we really want these roads to be where people on the highway can easily get access. So, that'll be one thing. There will be traffic jams. And don't overdo it on the roads, by the way. You may find that, you may over-plan your roads. And you have to keep in mind that eventually we'll have to tear some of this up in the future. However, we don't have to tear it up right now, and that is going to be good enough for me. So let's start with the waterworks. You have to supply water to your villagers, or to your citizens, or whatever. And you can see right now we have 0 water availability. Also 0 sewage availability. When we click on a pump, you'll see that that pump is in a certain direction. And we'll want to put it pretty close to here. Maybe around here or so. And then we can take pipes and run them up. Because we're on a river, you'll see that there are arrows pointing the direction that the water is going, the current of the water. And that means a few things as well. That means that we have this sewage area here. And because we have that sewage area, that means that the sewage will never back up. I mean, it may eventually, but as you might imagine, your citizens are not very keen on having raw sewage being dumped into their waste or into their drinking supply. So, there's that. In fact, we probably, come to think of it, it would be better if we move these things. Now, let's see. If we delete this building, you can see there's upkeep on it. We can either move it, and that's 500. I think I'm just going to move it up to here, maybe, in the hopes that... And we'll just leave that pipe there. That plumbing can be useful otherwise. I'm going to make this side of town our industry area. At least for now. And what we'll do there, then, is we will take these pipes and we will run them over here. Now, there's some things here that you should be aware of. Of course, we can build houses any way we want to. There's nothing saying that we must build our housing in a certain way, but you want to sort of maximize your land value here. You see, I've sort of reduced the amount of usable land here. Definitely, we'll have to think about some things with respect to this, because we can either put down wind power, which we could possibly put over here. The maximum you can get out of this is 8 megawatts. But this guy out here cost only maybe like 3 times as much and outputs constant energy. So, we'll put that power plant there. Now we want to be pretty careful about this because of the fact that citizens hate 2 things. They hate pollution and they hate noise. And because of that, we have to make sure of 2 things. A, that anywhere we have an industrial zone, that it's not going to be possible for us to essentially have this deal going on here. This pollution. I'm just going to put a road out like that and increase our land value just a bit. But also, we want to make sure that whenever the time comes that they can easily get to and from work. Now you can see I'm using a little trick here. And that trick is essentially to come out here and you'll see there's these little boxes around here. And this is actually probably quite big. I'm doing it this way because I want to make the land easily available. But what we'll do here now is we'll run power lines out over here. And maybe I think if we run it like that, they'll be able to easily get through. Main thing, of course, is that there's easy access to this road. Now we have 2 main roads, and it'll be possible for us to go through and begin populating this. So you'll see there are 2 major things here. The green is residential, and incidentally you can see we have very high demand for green, which means that we should put green here. Now, it may be the case that because of the pollution, or because of the noise, we may wish to come back here and dezone this. And we can do that. We can come through and we can select a zone here and get rid of that. There's not necessarily any reason to, but... Oh, and this is very high value land, by the way. If you can get your citizens living here, it's not such a bad thing. Main thing is to not go crazy. We are actually pretty close to doing that, and it's probably time to let her up. So, let's do that. You can see now that people are responding on Chirper, which is this thing right here. It is incidentally a, very much like a real-world, microblogging service that you may know of. You can turn this off if you just want it to shut up. It can be real annoying otherwise, and we'll just run time forward. People will begin to complain about a lack of power, probably. And that is because nothing can reach that. Eventually they'll fill in the gaps, but I want to speed the process along. And before too long, hopefully everybody will have access. If not, we can just simply go down here and temporarily come down through here. Eventually we'll want to move those power lines back. And you can see our residential demand is now going down. You can see, however, we are hemorrhaging money. So, what do we do about that? Well, you can see we are way overutilizing our electric consumption. So one thing we can do is we can go here and we can move our budget down to 50% of what it was, and that'll save us about 250 bucks. So pretty good thing so far. What about water though? Could we similarly be having too much water or sewage? And yeah, we certainly do. This splits everything in half. Now, unfortunately, the budget is all we can do until we grow. In the future, and this is sort of how the game works. As you grow your town, you get more options for doing things. And the more you do things, the better perks you get, shall we say. So we don't want to overdo it just quite yet on this, but... Oh, the sewage availability. There's a problem with that, and with the water too. This is something that's easy to forget about. All we really have to do there is come in through over here and hook those guys up. That's one thing that this guy will tell you about, is that, and you'll notice there's some pretty amusing things up here, like the guy refers to fossil fuel as dino power, which I think is pretty nifty. But yeah, I mean, right now this is sufficient. You can see we've got some demand coming in. Blue is our commercial zone, and the commercial guys don't care as much about the whole, I suppose the whole pollution thing. So they will be okay with it. How's our power on this going? Power is good. These guys, interestingly enough, let me just rotate around and make sure that we're connected to both of these. Normally these guys will start pumping out stuff. I guess it's just because we don't... Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can see that this guy is now pumping out poop. And this is going downstream to become somebody else's problem. So the thing is that as we increase our money supply here, and there's not much we can really do right now, but we want to increase our population as much as we can. We'll follow demand as well. And I figure it may be good for us to begin thinking of utilizing this space up here as residential space. Now, I do want to remind you that you don't have to build in a grid if that sort of thing bothers you. Some people don't like the grid at all. I happen to like the way it looks, so that's how I'm doing things. I will do like that. I think that that'll be good enough for now. You'll see that our power here is turning out to be a pretty interesting thing. I'm just going to put a one-way here, which may create a stop sign or traffic light. You can see people are moving in now. And that's a good thing. And furthermore, because we are close to the power, we don't have to worry about it too much. You'll see we are now... oh, pardon me. You'll see that we are now down, and we'll just... If you make a mistake, by the way, in the roads that you're placing, you can use upgrade to change the direction of them. I made this guy one way just so that it would be possible for us to take care of everything here. So far, it's a pretty good deal we have going on. You don't want to go overboard on this stuff. As you can see, we are more than covered for most of this. But we have very high demand here, so I'm going to start filling in zones. And people will start coming. Now, as a side note, it would be good if we come here, and because we know there's going to be traffic here, it would be good if we de-zone this area. Besides, it's a little too close, anyhow, to the residential zone. So we want to avoid that. What you'll find is that if we look at our traffic here, we are beginning to have some bottlenecks here. And there are many ways for us to handle that. We can, for instance, build bridges over here to give us more than one way in. But for now, it's all about making the money. And you can see that we are bringing in tax revenue. Now, I want you to notice that at the bottom left-hand corner, or left-hand corner rather, there is this little pie chart here. And if you click on this, this will tell us what we get when we reach a certain population. This pretty much also tells us what we can expect, you know, to need in the future. So we know, for instance, that we may need garbage service in the future. And that's something to take care of. Now, of course, there is this problem here to where occasionally you can take out a power line. And that's largely because of the fact that on rare occasion, in fact, we can take this out now. This is completely unnecessary because there is a connection through zones here. And we just need this guy. A couple things, really. We need to consider expanding our residential zone, even though, I mean, we're pretty full. And we'll get money by the way, for that. Pauses the game temporarily so that we get healthcare, education, and garbage. And the usual things apply, of course. For instance, people like having access to education near their homes. And that may be an important thing to them. So given our residential availability, there are some things we can do to make that happen. Definitely. One thing we would like to do here is come up here and run some more water. Doesn't really have to be perfect. This is probably good enough, in fact. We should have power availability here. And we can, in fact, probably take some of this out. And that'll be just dandy. As you can see, people are beginning to build here because they really... If they don't like our town, they at least tolerate it. But I'm going to do some things that will be necessary here. So, of course, sometimes people get sick, so we need to put down a hospital. Additionally, sometimes people like to know things, so I'm going to put down an elementary school. And you can see that when you do that, that makes people happy. Of course, now that garbage is available, they'll start complaining about garbage. So we need to do something about that as well. So I'm going to put a garbage site up here along the main road. Made a few people unhappy, but in such tight quarters is a problem. However, you'll notice that we have brownouts now. And if we just take a look at this, you can see that we've gotten so many people, we need more juice. And that happens because we cranked down the budget. It's now probably safe to crank it back up. You don't really need to worry about the night too much, but you can see that that's a problem that has gone away. Meanwhile, water availability is still quite good here. So, you'll probably notice if we click on this traffic ticker here, we're doing okay. Before too long, we will get our first land grant. And that means that we can expand in whatever direction we want to. If we play our cards right, then we will also happen to have the ability to do roads, or not roads, but to expand in whatever direction we want to. Now what I'm going to do here is, this area is a little lonely, and so if you hit page up, you'll create a bridge. However, you'll notice that bridges happen to require some space. So, what I can do there is come by, and I may have to knock some things down, but we can make this guy as short as it'll be permitted. And just to make things interesting, we'll come over here, and if we plan this correctly, we should be able to create... This is part of the reason why you might do some of this, by the way, when the game's paused, because it does get a little bit on the expensive side. You can make bridges quite tall if you want to. But now, these people can bypass traffic if they need to get around. That's wasn't really an issue, and I would not create bridges unless, for instance, you really need to. For numerous reasons. But you can see that our residential demand is going down. We're making a cool $800 profit. And that is always a good thing. People know how to get to work now. But before too long, you could see our residential demand came up, in fact. I cannot possibly overstate the importance of demand in this game. Demand is a very important thing because you want to make sure that whenever you take care of your demand, that, whenever you do that, you end up creating more in the way of profit, let's say. And more profit means you can expand your town. Still, the traffic situation is alright, except we are beginning to form a bottleneck here. And that is not necessarily any good. This is partially because of the fact that these people don't have anywhere to go. Also because of the fact that whenever people are coming up out of this, that there's just too much load. So there's numerous solutions to that, but let's focus on our demand right now because people really want to move in. And I mean, that's the thing, when you do this, all you really have to do is make sure that people get what they want. And, however you choose to do that is your business, of course. Like, for instance, I'm going to choose to make more in the way of lakefront property in order to fulfill that demand. But you don't have to. I mean, however you want to do it, it's your city, you can do however you want. The main thing is that people have access to the things they need and to their work. Definitely one of the problems you'll run into in the future with this that is a bit of a problem is that people will run out of work. Now, I do want to say at this point there's a lot of demand for our town, and we unlocked taxes as a result. So maybe what we could do is take advantage of that and very slightly raise our taxes to increase revenue. I would not raise them too high, of course, but I made it to where, people want residential property. So all they have to do is pay a premium for it. Same really with this over here. I'm just going to put a bit of commercial property over here. We can possibly just add a little inlet over here. They have a way around, so I'm not too bothered by that. You can see now people are moving in. And the more they move in, the more money we make. And that is really the important thing here, is that we want them to make us a ton of money. Before too long, this will become a bit of a nightmare. But for now, I mean, we can pretty much cover this peninsula. And, we're getting to the point now to where we may consider putting... Oh, we're a worthy village. We may consider putting, some land up here like that. And that may be a bit premature. Let's see what we got there, by the way. One thing we can definitely do now. We got a second loan, we've got services that we can worry about, and industry specialization, which we may think about in the next episode. I think that that would be probably a good thing to go about doing. Uh, Main thing is, we've got tons and tons of demand here that needs to be met. We now have this issue, of course, with the fact that we now have other things as well, like we need a fire department here, and we want to place the fire department in such a way that it covers as many people as possible. So I'm going to plop the fire department down here, and same with the police department. However, we've run out of money. Now, there's really two ways we can deal with this. You can see that our crime rate is still very low without it. That won't last for long. But we've got loans. I'm going to take this one because it'll actually cost us less. I mean, in the long run, this will cost us more, or cost us less, but this costs us less in terms of our repayment, and gives us tons of money to start planning with. Again, you don't really want to go too big here, but having a police department is one of those essential things. And really, it's nice to have one. Now, as you can see, we're probably going to have to start adjusting things before too long. The main thing to keep in mind with this is that really everything here is interconnected in some sort of way, and that you have to really consider when you build these towns ahead of time maybe what will create traffic jams and what won't. Also, depending on what kind of player you are, you may want to consider perhaps the effects of property value on some of these things. The main deal with the property value, of course, is that you can really densely pack stuff, as I'm doing here, and that'll generate a lot of revenue from property. That's something to consider, of course. Now, we have zones here. If we look at these are districts. And districts will allow us to set certain policies. For instance, we could say that people are allowed to do drugs in a particular part of the city. And that actually is a real thing. Recreational use is a real policy that you can implement. We'll just... Sometimes, what I'm basically doing is I'm trying to get the entire bottom edge here of this as part of the zone, and I'm trying to get as little of it as possible, because I do not want to worry about future ramifications of policy. We'll get rid of Fawn Square here. That's something that can be a bit of a problem. Especially since this thing does not really want to play nice with me. I'm not entirely sure why. I guess I'm outside of the zone here. I'm just going to move this guy up. And over. Now there will be some... You can see this includes this main road here. I don't want it to. I want it to include as little of that as possible. And hopefully it will comply with that order. So the basic idea is this road Oh, it actually seems to be, um, keeping my, oops, keeping my zones pretty much the same here. So the reason I did that is, oh no, uh, yeah, I had the wrong tool, it looks like. It'll center in on this here. There are going to be certain policies that I'm going to pass that I just simply do not want to apply to this area. Eventually. Zoning can take a little bit of getting used to. But in the end, it's probably worth it to zone. And given that these things do not have to be the same shape, all we really have to do now is come back, and it's helpful if you have a steady hand here. Exclude the road from the zone, and we can expand as necessary here. Okay, very good. Just get rid of this very slight area along the coastline, and I think that that'll do it for our thing here. So we've now got a very large city that we're putting together. You can see that maybe it would not be such a bad idea for us to consider the ramifications of, if not the ramifications, the possibilities of a larger commercial zone, because these guys are deciding that they want to have more, which is perfectly fine. I'm not going to complain about that. Also, you can see here that we've reached the edge, and so we should probably consider building a bridge. And I believe this will give us a straight bridge here. Now, bridges, of course, can go over anything, and you can put just more than regular bridges over here. For instance, we can come over here and take the power lines, and we can run power line bridges as well, which we may want. It would be very useful to have. You can see for the most part, so these guys, for instance, I neglected somehow to get them water. Let's just put some commercial demand over here. It shouldn't take too terribly long for us to begin with, this over here. These guys will just sort of fill that in, and it'll be next to the water pump, but really nobody's going to complain too much. At least I reckon not. Same deal with water over here. The part of the water problems are coming, in fact, from our water budget, so we'll just crank that up a bit. So, pretty much, if you keep going like this, you'll begin building out a very large city. Just gotta come here. Power's an issue. Remember, you can go up to 150% here, so don't be afraid of that. Make as much money as you need to. Maybe we'll end it here, I think, because we have a fairly good town now. Oh, one more thing, though. You'll notice that we got a land grant here, and we can pick whatever we want to do here. Well, if you click on this natural resource thing, that should inform part of your decision. So you can see that we have, this yellow here for, the fertile land, that means farms can be put down there. Um, we have forest land available as well. Also, oil and ore. Ore would be this blue stuff. So, it's really up to us to decide how we want to do it. I think that we really could go either way on this. This has a connection up here. But if we can get close, let's just come back over here real quick. See if we can find, there's a train track over here. And so I think we would do well to possibly expand up here. And even though there's no ore up there, that's okay, because there is train access. And so we'll take that for now, and until then, this has been Nylord Root, and I will see you later.